Superheroes have been known to leap tall buildings in a single bound. For the time being, however, Jack Kramer's leaps and bounds will remain indoors.
Honestly, I could do this the rest of my life and be happy. I mean, I'm here like now more times than I'm not, it seems.
Ninja Warrior style competitions have been more than just a jumping off point for Jack. They've provided a purpose and a passion after a childhood filled with a different set of obstacles.
My tailbone back area started like just feeling sore all the time, and we weren't sure like really what it was. Like we didn't know if it was a posture thing or anything like that. And then we just kind of went to the doctors and did some checkup stuff, and they were like, yeah, you have cancer there.
At the age of 6, Jack was diagnosed with acute lymphoblastic leukemia. Years of treatment followed, including physical therapy with someone determined to help Jack regain his superpowers.
My goal is always to bear someone's burden and to do whatever I can to reacquaint them with joy.
Dan Steventon, known to his patients simply as PT Dan, is a physical therapist who specializes in treating kids battling cancer, rehabbing more than just their bodies.
You know, kids are not often always ready for all those conversations, but it starts with, okay, what do you love? Oh, you love football? Oh, this is gonna be easy. Okay, let's start doing some football related things or whatever else. You know, if they like Pokemon, all right, hey, like we gotta get you up and moving, but let's turn on Pokemon Go while we do it.
We basically played games while making it exercise, if that makes sense. He did the thing where like they trick kids to exercise or go outside, like, hey, we got a thing outside for you, and then all of a sudden we're outside. We would take like the balance beams that they'd have out there, and we would have pool noodles and like kind of fake lightsaber fight while trying to stay standing on them.
Jack's strength was beginning to build back up until a reoccurring enemy tried keeping him down.
He came in, I looked at his back, and I treated him that visit, and things were better, pretty good, like right away. The next visit, things were really bad again, and things were not responding to treatment that I was giving him after a while, and so I came in with a sheepish look to the oncologist and said, I don't know what's going on, but I don't think this is right. And they discovered the thing that Jack had relapsed with leukemia.
Round 2 of Jack's battle consisted of a bone marrow transplant and a return to the man who wanted to ensure the sequel was better than the original.
His bone marrow transplant had just sapped all of his strength. He was so deconditioned that he could barely get out of the wheelchair and could kind of, with help, make it across the clinic room, which is 6 feet.
We did a lot more of like working on the balance things, because like I had kind of totally like lost my balance pretty much.
We're gonna build strength back in you until you are unstoppable.
I don't know that I'm unstoppable, but I'm getting there.
Jack's been cancer-free now for years. No need for a trilogy in this saga. It's a soaring triumph for both doctor and patient.
I guess when I saw him again, he was kind of like one of my heroes in a way.
Everybody's dealing with something, so walking into a world where somebody's hurting or has a broken thing in their life and being able to help them with that, it's the best feeling in the world.
First, gotta say hello to the world. Hi, world.
Colby Severson, meanwhile, has a great sense of humor.
Don't trust stairs. They're always up to something.
Especially for a kid who's encountered some uneven steps along his journey. Colby was diagnosed with autism at the age of 3, and then in his elementary school years, he started feeling a vivid and agonizing pain near his knee.
I used to say it, but I remember how it was like a knife with acid being stabbed into you, then pouring lava onto it, and then like more knives just stabbing you. It was painful. We went and get scans. They said I had cancer.
He was in pain, it hurt, and it was terrifying. And he had so many impairments just at that moment that I started in seeing him very often because he couldn't move the leg without excruciating pain.
The official diagnosis was osteosarcoma, a form of bone cancer. Colby went through months of chemotherapy and what's known as a rotation-plasty surgery, inverting his foot to act as a new knee joint.
They were just gonna make my leg backwards is what I basically understood.
We worked all together, worked this kid's pain down, and helped him understand that he had friends, that he was walking into a world that didn't have to be an unfamiliar world. It was going to become a place where he would know everyone.
Me and PT Dan, he would just become one of my bestest friends. He was so nice.
Colby's outlook changed. Colby changed from the kid who was afraid of everything, and afraid of the world, and was seeing the world through really a vicious version of what the world can be. And it brightened over the course of weeks to months.
Chin up, you got this, you got this.
Dan has worked with hundreds of children over the years.
That's the way!
With Colby and Jack as two shining examples of kids who found a way to survive and thrive. But sometimes even the best intentions collide with the worst realities.
One child just blurted out, "I'm going to die." And I said, I've heard that. I understand what's going on. I actually knew about that. Did you know that doesn't change anything about us? My hope is always to walk alongside them no matter what. Like, to be there for them and to help them understand the things that are coming. That child, I got to be with him on the day that he passed away. You get to have that incredible clarity of knowing that in the last moments you got to be with somebody that maybe they realized that they had such a wonderful worth.
PT Dan's presence is more than just physical. He's also using the power of YouTube to extend his grace and compassion all across the globe.
Hi, friend. Today I'm trying something new.
I want to speak towards the issues that the questions they may have. So what questions would a kid with cancer have sitting in their hospital room and wondering what the world's going to be like? Okay, well, maybe I can answer some of those questions.
Whether it's in person or online, PT Dan's mission remains the same, with a heartwarming yet simple message for children facing the most difficult of times.
My day is always better with you in it.
If nothing else, I think that sums up my goal with them, is to always remember they were worth the investment, that they changed my world forever, because my day will always be better with them in it.
Movies and comic books tend to portray superheroes as immortal, which makes any label in the real world seem more like hyperbole than honesty. Yet the mere mortals that inhabit our day-to-day lives tend to perform tasks we deem heroic, not because they always save lives, but because they always show up. Dan Steventon is a fighter who helps other fighters, building bonds, building strength, and building a bridge that connects our shared humanity.
Oh, it fell out. It's in the rainbow swamp. Oh.
The children Dan sees don't deserve their lot in life, but he will always make sure their life deserves a lot.
I just kind of explain PT Dan because, well, he's just the best guy in the world.
I'm super grateful for Dan. I truly don't think I'd be where I am without Dan.
I want the world to know, and I want to be able to explain to the world the hardships that my patients go through, not to bring the world down, but to help them realize what I get to realize when I go home every day, that there's bright things in this world, and you can be one of them if you choose.
And joined again by David Brown. Awesome story again. PT Dan, unbelievable with his patients. What's his life like outside of work, though?
Has a family of his own, has his wife Melissa and 4 kids, all grade school age or younger. And so I asked him, how does he balance, some of the tough times at work with his home life? And he admits, it's emotional. Sometimes he has to cry on his way home from work, but his family's been incredibly understanding. They'll ask him if he's had a rough day. He'll be honest with them if he has. And he says his kids have actually asked him a lot of questions. He likes to call them emotional archaeologists. It's kind of a cool term, but it's nice that he can have open conversations with everyone in his family. And I think that helps him as far as like a release in terms of all the stress that comes with working.
Yeah. They can dig into the feelings.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right. We saw Jack in the story and clearly had great interactions with Dan when he was a patient, but they've had some interaction since then?
Yeah, as you saw in the piece, they were doing pull-ups together, and that was at a gym in Sioux Falls called 605 Ninja. That's where they do those Ninja Warrior style competitions. It's kind of like a kids' playground obstacle course. Well, Jack not only trains there, he works there. And so one day, PT Dan came in with his kids. Jack said, "Hey, what's going on?" Dan didn't recognize him at first. And then Jack explained who he is. Dan just lit up. Jack said, "Watch this." He did, some of the jumping and all the obstacles. And then Dan said, "Well, I got to capture this." And so they did pull-ups together. He captured that video on his phone, and just a cool memory that'll last forever.
Nice. And we saw Colby in this story as well. How's he doing?
Colby's in 8th grade, so he's still growing, so he's going to need a new prosthetic leg soon, but he loves sports. He's still active in sports, plays football, plays basketball, plays baseball, even with the prosthetic leg. Wants to be a ship captain one day. He loves boats, and his story actually got the attention of Carson Wentz and the AO1 Foundation, and they sponsored a trip for him and his family to go on a fishing and sightseeing tour in Alaska on a big boat this past summer. So a really cool kid, a really cool story, and overall just really awesome to see what PT Dan does and the influence he can have on these kids' lives.
Absolutely. Thanks a lot, David Brown. Thanks for watching Midco Sports Magazine. We will see you in 2023.
This has been Midco Sports Magazine, presented by Build Your Base with Beef Sports Nutrition and Training Program.